Hello everybody, welcome to what will be part 2 of my 3D All-Stars review series. I got most of my introductions out in the Mario 64 video, and there's no real need to repeat it all here. Essentially, this is a Mario Sunshine review explicitly using the All-Stars version. While that was a very important and prevalent qualifier to keep note of for the 64 review, it's a bit less significant for Sunshine. It doesn't suffer too much from the growing pains of early 3D, and so there's a bit less required for a quality of life update. But there are still some changes to discuss, so I guess that will be our best starting point. Mario Sunshine still looks and plays pretty decent on the actual Gamecube, but it's gotten a bit of a touch-up for the Switch re-release. The game is now in widescreen. That should be a given for a remaster, but that was absent from All-Stars 64, so at least they figured it out for this. I can't say if any actual textures were swapped out, but everything does look cleaner in high definition. There's a good amount of anti-aliasing going on, seen pretty clearly in the shadow of the plane's wing. And to cap off the visuals, our cutscenes have been upscaled, so they look a lot nicer. They have always been in a widescreen format, just with letterboxing to fit the 4:3 aspect ratio, so they now fit perfect in our 16:9 screens. The options screen has been downsized, taking out the GameCube controller icon and the surround sound options, which in turn removes this cool graphic of the Pianta interacting with different speaker setups. Any additional options will be in the collection's own minus button menu, where you can change back the camera's inversion as of update 1.10, cause they didn't think to do that at launch, but I already covered that. Some button prompts will be different. Looking at Professor Toad, we see a red B button in the GameCube game, which is now an A button, though both buttons do the same thing. Using Flood used to be pressure sensitive on the right trigger, but the Switch doesn't have that feature, so R1 is stationary squirt, and R2 is how we run and gun. It actually works out pretty well. The last change is a bit of a funny one. Flood used to tell us which buttons do what, but since some of them have been altered, they just took the button names out of the voice clips.
Use the R button to shoot water from my tank. Use the button to shoot water from my tank. If you press the R button all the way down, you can stop and shoot. If you press the button, you can stop and shoot. You can then use the control stick to aim in any direction. You can then use the stick to aim in any direction.
I mean, whatever works. Okay, with comparisons done, let's move on to the actual review. Just like with the 64 video, I'll go level by level and touch on certain points throughout, but we'll need a bit of story context for anything to make sense. Our crew are flying in Peach's plane to an unspecified location when they get an advert for the dolphin-shaped island just below, the highly acclaimed vacation destination Isle Delfino. Temptation gets the best of them, so they decide to land, but two things just aren't right. There's a ton of goopy substance on the runway, and a shadowy Mario doppelganger is seen by the princess. The real Mario decides to help out, but gets wrongfully accused of creating all of the messes across the island. It's pretty funny to see Mario get arrested, attend a court trial, and sit in a jail cell. But at least he's not alone. Flood, a talking water jet device, just happens to be chilling on the airstrip when Mario and the Goop appear. He'll become our handy companion as we fulfill our sentence of community service. Our goal is to locate enough of the Shine Sprites so order can be restored to the Isle. And our only lead is that Shadow Mario, who I'll be calling Shadario from here on out. He'll lead us to our first level, and at last, we can begin. Bianco Hills. Our level opens up to a path leading us to a quaint windmill village. Right away, we'll be greeted by some Piantas, this island's main group of inhabitants. These guys, and their dialogue, really represent one of the best things this game's got going for it. It all feels so alive. Not just the hub world, but the levels too. The Piantas always have something interesting to say, though sometimes it's hard to get their attention, waiting for that button prompt to appear. Don't act like you can't hear me. They'll comment on current events surrounding each episode's theme and level changes, give you hints to push you in the right direction, or urge you to try out some nearby level mechanics, like this dude telling us of the bungee ropes. Their presence makes Isle Delfino shine bright, even in its darkest times. When they're not caught up speaking to Mario, they'll often be seen dancing, or screaming, or in a total panic. These are some of the most animated NPCs in any game, so let's do our best to restore their home. Bianco Hills is just one of the residential villages on the island. It opens up to a straight path, so we don't stray away too early on. And our attention is now in the village section, where we can choose to chat, fight, collect coins, and explore for blue coins. And once we're satisfied there, we resume our quest. Taking the water wheel up and over the wall will reveal the most open section of the level, but we have a direct path through the center with a giant windmill calling us towards it. The only issue is all of that muck. The funny thing is, our first shine isn't even at the windmill, despite it commanding our attention. Along the way, if we clean up all the mess on the road, our very first level shine will be uncovered, completing episode 1. Mario Sunshine takes a more linear approach to star collecting than 64 did, by having numbered episodes unlocked in order, each one ending with a shine get. Not every episode shine has to be obtained in a row all at once though. You are free to leave, try another level if it's unlocked, and return later for the unfinished episodes. Bianco Hills even has an unusual quirk. If we were to pass the roadway shine and head for the windmill, this guy would scold us, but we could proceed to collect Shine 2 before Shine 1. This could give a false impression that you can collect other episode shines out of order. It's just this one. But I really didn't mind collecting these in the order given. A rigid order would be a downside if it were, say, Mario 64, because those stars are more so location-based. But because of Sunshine's episode structure, its stars, or shines, are more so story-based. There's 8 episodes in any given level, and by selecting a specific episode, it determines the state the level will be in. For instance, episode 1 will have this gate blocked off, and the bridge swallowed up by the goop. But loading into episode 2 will have an open gate for easy travel, and a mostly complete landing to lead us forward. Every episode will have a range of changes depending on the story the episode is trying to tell. This sort of builds off a couple star obtains in 64, like how the ship rises after completing that objective in Jolly Roger Bay. or how Bowser's submarine vanishes after its star in Dire Dire Docks. It's cool to see how they went all out with this idea in Sunshine, and the various episode changes really keep the levels feeling fresh each time you return. You're still kicked out in between each, but at least this time, there's usually a reason for it. Moving forward in our episodes, we'll see there's a hint in the intro showing us the area of interest. For Shine 2, we're led to the top of the windmill, where we'll fall through the roof and fight our first boss, Petey the Piranha. For Shine 3, our attention is turned to a cave on the edge of the level, and we're transported to our first sub-level. I'll cover these more broadly later, but essentially, each world has at least one, but sometimes two, so-called old-school levels, where our goal is simply to reach the end, not unlike the Bowser levels from 64. The only catch is our mobility is limited due to FLUDD being stolen from us. Our first one features a ton of shifting blocks. Shine 4 has us collecting red coins throughout the village portion of the level, a good way to get acquainted with the surroundings. Shine 5 is a rematch with Petey, this time in the village, so he has more room to roam around. Shine 6 has that lake tainted, and the source is another cave with another sub-level, this time with flipping platforms. Episode 7, in every level, will be a Shadario chase, where we follow him around the level, spraying him enough times to drop a shine. And every level will end with Episode 8. In this instance, it's another red coin hunt, only in the lake portion now. Bianco Hills is a pretty peaceful starting level to get acquainted with this new iteration of 3D Mario, with just enough happening to keep things interesting without being overwhelming. So now that we have our footing, let's head to Ricco Harbor to put our skills to the test. Our second level opens up to a wide shot of the shipping docks, known as Ricco Harbor. A black substance is seen pouring into the water, and Mario materializes on solid ground. Looking around at our new surroundings, we'll see that this level is going to be much more platform-oriented than the previous, so we might as well cover that ground first. Playing Mario Sunshine just after 64 really lets you appreciate just how fluid the movement is. Get it? Fluid? Now, this isn't a dig at 64, it's just a natural progression. It's only right that as time goes on, game development becomes more refined due to technological advances, player input options, emerging gameplay trends, or player feedback and satisfaction. And the 6 years between these two Mario games made a world of difference. There's no more incremental camera, so you can position it anywhere you need to along the x-axis to get the best visibility. Though the y-axis does more of a zoom out that many games of this era seem to do. It still allows us to look down and get a better view of our shadow, so we can tell exactly where we'll land. Walking across balance beams is made much easier due to a greater degree of movement when walking. 64 would tend to have us walk a straight line, but that straight line didn't always line up with the narrow platforms. And making adjustments wasn't great, as Mario would turn in 1 of 8 increments. Sunshine gives us full range to make the slight adjustments we need to walk safely to the other side. That dangerous wide U-turn isn't completely absent from Sunshine, but it's toned down considerably, and our higher degree of movement pretty much makes this a non-issue. Moving around these worlds feels a lot less slippery without those slopes that pull your feet out from under you. In fact, I can't think of many areas in Sunshine that even have slopes, that don't just act like normal ground. The super slippy ones are typically in out-of-the-way places you're not meant to walk to anyway. The things I just mentioned were my major concerns when it comes to moving Mario, but there have been some things lost in the transition from 64 to Sunshine, and that's his moves themselves. Some moves are shared between games, like the standard jump, triple jump, belly dive, ground pound, or side somersault. But there are some moves I miss having, mainly the long jump. That was one of the most satisfying moves in 64. The hover replaces this in a way, allowing us to clear large gaps, so it's not a total loss. Punching things was always fun, but since the release of Smash Bros., Mario's beat-em-up tendencies have found a home in that series, so now he tries other ways of releasing that pent-up anger, like spraying. There is no more crouch, which isn't a deal breaker, so instead of crawling, Mario can strafe. Fitting for his new mechanism, though I rarely tend to use this move. You would think that by holding the strafe button and pressing jump, Mario would do his backwards high jump, a move I used considerably in 64. But no, that does nothing. So this led me to believe there is no backwards jump in the game. So I got accustomed to flicking the stick to somersault anytime I wanted to jump to high areas. Turns out, there is a backwards jump. You just have to spray with R instead of L2. I went 2 full playthroughs without realizing this was an option. Sure, it's listed in the collection menu, but it's not something I picked up on naturally when messing around with the controls. Why even attach it to the spray button? That is a waste of water. There is another move we can use with a sprayer. By getting the ground wet, then diving, we can do the slip and slide. Pretty fun. Fast too. Now, when it comes to platforming itself, excluding camera control and mobility quirks, there's not much use in pinning these games against one another. They're both designed with its own moves and mechanics in mind, so nothing is truly missing when looking at either game in its entirety. I'll talk more about Mario's movement later, but for now, I want to focus on his companion, Flood. Flood may seem like some unassuming gadget at first, but really, he's the driving force behind this game. I mean, Mario wouldn't be able to clean a single mess without him. His spray mechanic is our key to moving forward in this game, but I want to talk about Flood literally moving us forward. His other mechanic, besides cleaning, acts as Mario's new hover ability. In my opinion, hovering is one of the most satisfying moves you can pull off in a platforming game, just behind the double jump. Flood will spray down with all of his might to keep Mario airborne for a short amount of time, letting us clear large gaps or gracefully land exactly where we want to be. This gives us a great amount of error correction, bringing our platforming frustrations to a minimum. These two water spray mechanics really cement the identity of Mario Sunshine in conjunction with the theming, which we'll talk about later. Now, with that traversal tangent out of the way, we can really delve into Ricco Harbor as a level. By now, you would have already seen much of what the level offers. Open water, docks and shipping equipment, a big boat, climbable fencing, moving hooks, and these number doors that I don't think do anything. Making our way across the harbor, we find some shipping containers with a tentacle. A big blooper pops out, acting as this level's boss fight. Collecting the sprite and returning for episode 2, we'll find the boat path missing and a new dock has appeared. Our Pianta friends speak of blooper riding, so we check in to see what all the fuss is about. Blooper surfing is the name of the game. These guys can go fast over water, though their speed depends on which color we choose. We can put their speed and handling to the test in this blooper racetrack beneath the harbor. Just don't go too slow, cause losing the race will kick you out of the level, but won't kill you. Is that really necessary? Even 64 didn't do this. The big penguin will make fun of us, but only Mario's pride is hurt, not his body. Though, in that race, you're more likely to fall than to lose, which does take a life. Crashing in the blooper race won't banish you from the level. It'll return you to the start to try again. But crashing outside of the course will boot you out. So, why the inconsistencies? Winning the race will make us super deluxe cool. And we can get our prize. Episode 3 gives us access to the second boat, and we'll have a platforming challenge to reach the high-up cage. Just watch for the annoying wind guys. Next up, our attention is turned to this tower, where we'll have our third sub-level, featuring no shortage of tumbling blocks. In episode 5, we're pointed towards the helipad. I didn't have the rocket unlocked, but luckily, this chuckster chucked me directly there. Good thing he's been practicing. We'll now have a rematch with Blooper, but it's basically the exact same fight, just in a smaller, but still reasonable platform. Number 6 gives us more surf bloopers to choose from, and we ride them around, collecting red coins. Getting them is the easy part. The difficulty comes in when you try to stop. I thought reaching dry land would cancel out the surf, but it didn't. I tried gently slowing down on the beach, but that backfired. Our best bet, and maybe only option, is jumping headlong into the shine and letting that get animation take over. The Shadario chase here can be a bit tedious with the high-up narrow platforms. And then episode 8. Well, we'll run around aimlessly, since the game doesn't tell you need to return later to get the shine. In the meantime, we can dance along with the celebrity guests, the Doot Doot sisters, chit-chat around the fish market, or relax in the water with these piantas in duck rings. I know, I want one too. We'll skip the shine for now and head into our next level, Gelato Beach. Moving into our next level, I'm sure you realize this by now. Our theming across all the levels, including the hub area, shares some very similar concepts. The first is water. Whether it's by river that leads into a lake, a harbor welcoming shipments by boat, a Venetian-style city with ferry boats, or simply a sandy beach overlooking the ocean, water is an obvious focal point due to the flood mechanics. But this theming ties the game together so well. I won't dive into this completely right now, since we haven't visited every area. Just keep an eye out for how it all connects. Gelato Beach is our first of 3 tourist-attracting levels. A simple, peaceful beach where we can just relax. Never mind that. We're still on a mission. Much of this level will take place on the sand, but there's an explorable ocean to accompany it. Even a small island with a flood-propelled swing. Nice. Plenty of trees, some we can even climb to the top. lots of stairs that lead to an overlook, and a few cabanas that may or may not be open for business. It's situational, I guess. We even get to meet some of Delfino's other group of inhabitants, the Noki. This one tells us about the Dune Buds, and this Pianta tells us of a strange sand castle. The strangest part, though, is that our first shine of this level is from a sub-level. At least it kept the sand theme with these dissolving blocks. When returning to the beach, our attention is pointed towards the tower, where a familiar worm is taking a nap. Our goal is to try and wake him using these tilting mirrors to shine him with the sun. Iggy Koopa, anyone? With the caterpillar woken up, or more so broken up, our shine emerges. When we go back, Ol' Wriggler isn't too happy with us. He's now Gelato's boss. These Noki try protecting the sand buds, but it turns out these are our key to victory. Now, the reason for the tower and the warming mirrors is clear. They were keeping an egg safe and sound, and it has just hatched. Somehow, the eggshell becomes a portal, and we arrive on the sandbird's back. A very blocky creature. I'm not much of a fan of this level, but we collect 7 red coins on the bird as he flies and twists about. And eventually, 1 last coin on the top of the tower. For shine number 5, we meet a new face. Or mask, I guess. Piantissimo? 2 Piantissimo? 11 Piantissimo? No, it's Il Piantissimo. This guy loves to run, but he's no match for Koopa the Quick. Looks like you need to train more, you fake Pianta. Perhaps a few laps around Hyrule Field? Our prize is of course a shine, but an even greater reward is seeing the crowd so happy. Oh, I'll just take my shine then. Episode 6 has the coral reef, the talk of the town, or beach. So we set out to collect some red coins. This section highlights a pretty unfortunate aspect of this game. The swimming isn't as good as it was in Mario 64, which is pretty bad for a game surrounded by water. The swimming is slow, there's no thrust forward, you have to constantly alternate the ascend and descend buttons to get anywhere, and the camera always wants to pop above the surface. But the worst part is the air meter making a fuss each time your supply goes down a notch. This really is a missed opportunity to have that hover nozzle propel us through the water. I mean, beneath the surface. Gelato 7 is a Shidario chase, of course. Pretty easy, so long as he doesn't lose you. And finally, number 8 is the Watermelon Festival. Sounds fun, right? Well, it really isn't. Despite everyone's enthusiasm, I really didn't enjoy this one bit. Our goal is to roll the biggest watermelon over to the smoothie stand. These are our rival contestants. There's some small melons around the beach, but if we want a juicer, we'll have to go to one specific spot, to the top. We spray it to get it moving, but we have to watch it doesn't pop. That can happen from hitting an obstacle, or by hitting one of 50 cataquacks absolutely littered across this level. These dudes are so annoying. Doesn't matter if they're hungry for watermelon or for blood. They'll ruin your day. If we manage to sneak it by them, we'll carefully push it down the dock and collect our prize. Watermelon juice. Oh, and a shine, of course. Our next area of interest will be Isle Delfino's very own amusement park, Pinna Park. We have quite the thrill ride awaiting us just ahead, so before we do any exploring, we'll take care of the mission at hand. We see Shidario just past the gates, and chasing him will lead us to a fountain where a giant robotic monster emerges. Mecha Bowser. It's funny to think that this, level 4, is the first we see or hear of King Koopa, at least to my knowledge. Aside from Flood's little analysis in the beginning, where we can see a neat little reference to 64's boss battles. This Shadow Mario has been our focus this whole game, and after we defeat that roller coaster mech battle, we can see what he's really up to. Shidario is actually Bowser Jr., and he's convinced that Peach is his mother. Okay. After their getaway, our first shine of Pinna will be in their wake. Coming back for episode 2, the park will be closed. This level has 2 sections, the outside and inside, divided by a transition screen and no way back. Strange this isn't one whole level like most others, but whatever works. The outside area doesn't really tie into the amusement theme. It's just a small beach and a grass patch. Outside its entrance, it's occupied by happy sunflowers and different enemies depending on the episode. Right now, we're being harassed by an angry gopher who stole control of the cannon. Why does an amusement park need a cannon? Guess it is a faster way to travel than, say, a boat. Turning his bombs against him, we gain access to our 5th traditional level with vanishing blocks. Shine 3 lets us back into the park, where we can really explore. It's another red coin mission that brings us to a few areas of interest. In the fairgrounds, we have a swinging ship, a Yoshi go-round, a musical shallow ride, some slopes acting as the roller coaster platform, and even a high-up Ferris wheel that's not open to the public yet, but we can still sneak a ride. The platforming here can get pretty annoying at times. Episode 4 is the second and last one to ban us from the park. We'll spend this time reviving wilted sunflowers by getting rid of these fake Yoshi-shelled turtles. In the next chapter, that Ferris wheel is going haywire, and it's up to us to climb the maintenance area and figure out why. While we're up here, we may as well enjoy the view. Looking down, we'll see we're completely surrounded by water. I mean, obviously, this is a small island off the coast of another island after all. But one thing I appreciate about Sunshine is its levels are enclosed. I pointed out in my 64 review that many of its worlds seem to be boundless islands over black instant death voids. All but one of Sunshine's worlds have hard boundaries where you won't just fall off. And this really adds to that sense of place when looking at the game's theming. Each level feels like a different section of a world, not just a different dimension in the center of nothingness. But more than anything, it's nice to not just fall off the sides, letting any challenge come from within the level itself, and not off the sides of it. Next up, we solve the mystery of the Yoshi go-round by collecting fruit and waking up an actual Yoshi. It's nice to finally have the little dino unlocked. When we bring the appropriate colored Yoshi to its rightful place, another sub-level opens up. Fittingly, it has Yoshi cubes. and a Yoshi's Island backdrop. 7, as you'd expect, has us chasing Bowser Jr., who's back to concealing his identity as Shadario. And 8 gives us another ride on the roller coaster, where we have 3 laps to shoot 20 balloons.
The horror.
After a long day of excitement, we should turn in for the night. And we reach the hotel grounds of Sirena Beach, just in time for sunset. This is the type of scenery that makes you want to sit back and reminisce. For those of us that have played video games our whole lives, it's only natural that we'll look back at older games and tie them into other meaningful experiences from the past. And that can be a beautiful thing, and those memories should be cherished. However, when it comes to reviewing a game, I always found it best to judge them by their own merits while minimizing outside factors. There's a pattern I've noticed, mostly with 64 games, that when someone is speaking of how good their childhood game of choice is, their supporting statements would be how they made their parents re-rent the game at Blockbuster, or they were only able to play the game at their friend's house, or anything else along those lines. But none of that delves into the content or mechanics of the game. It's simply a sweet, nostalgic story. So I tend to keep those out of my reviews. But I'm going to break that rule for a moment. In my 3D All-Stars Invert video, I mentioned I only really played through one of the 3 games offered in this collection prior to it releasing. 64, I only really remembered waddling around in Cool Mountain. And Galaxy, I never played, but I have watched my siblings play it a bit. So Sunshine was the game I nostalgia drooled over, and the main selling point to picking up this controversial collection. But Mario Sunshine was not my childhood Mario game. That was World mostly, but also the other classic 2D games. Years later, I have fond memories of free summer days sitting in a hot attic bedroom, popping in the disc for a refreshing Mario game that I enjoyed quite a bit. But that wasn't always the case. Looking at issue 160 of Nintendo Power, Mario Sunshine was front and center, and I thought it was so stupid. Clean up? Really? I'm a kid in the year 2002. Cleaning is lame. Let me see some mayhem. Some destruction. I didn't end up playing Sunshine till many years later, even sometime after my brother brought home a used copy and hardly played it. I'm not sure what exactly got me to play the game, but I absolutely fell in love with the tropical world that was offered. Is that good for a nostalgia tale? Does hating the game, and then loving it, even things out? Or am I guilty of the same rose-tinted bias with Sunshine that I've criticized others for with 64? I don't know, honestly. It's not a variable I can change and retest, but I do know I try to strike a balance and attempt to articulate why a criticism is a criticism, and offer a potential solution that could have been implemented otherwise. I mean, I say as much in my 64 video, but our time in the Sunshine is hardly over yet. So let's pack up the past and head to our hotel to check in. Oh, it is not there. Hotel Mario is missing. Was that one too forced? Yes, the hotel itself is gone. And the culprit? A giant manta ray. He covers so much ground with this electro-psychedelic goop. This is our biggest mess yet, and it can trip you up if you're not prepared. This sprinkler twirl can be a bit helpful. Just remember, even the water isn't safe. With time, we do save the hotel, and Shine number 1 is restored. Episode 2 does let us into the hotel, but the vacationers cannot catch a break. The whole building is haunted, and we have to find the source. Old school level 7 with breakable bricks. Oh, the memories. For episode 3, things are back to normal for the most part, and we can explore inside and outside the resort. This is probably my favorite episode in the game. The stunning sunset, the happy guests, the unhappy guests, and the maze that opens up indoors where we have to find a pineapple for Yoshi. Of course, all sold out. This quest will lead us through a leak in the bathroom, through paintings and closet doors, and in ceiling holes above bouncy beds. All while we intrude and annoy all the paying guests. We even take a trip to the attic where a janitor is cleaning. Huh. I think I know a guy. Yoshi will eat up all the ghosts to pave the way forward, leading us to a shine in the pool. Just don't go the wrong way, cause eating this ghost leads you to a dead end. Well, goodbye Yoshi. Episode 4 leads us to the back room of the hotel, which turns out to be a casino. But we don't have to risk it all, cause it seems the reels are broken. Spraying 777s twice, and finishing this flipping image, will lead us to traditional level 8, with the same skybox from the outside. Returning to the gambling hall, you can bet there's a secret in the roulette wheel. More ghosts underground, where we face off against his haunting majesty, King Boo. For Shine 6, that electro goop is inexplicably back, and we have to clean it with a time limit, for whatever reason. I'm just doing it to give this guy a hand. You really should ask for a raise. The Shadario chase inside keeps our displeased guests outside. And finally, we rerun the maze, but this time as a race, cause red coins need time limits, I guess. The next level brings us to the hometown of our Noki friends, Noki Bay. Upon arrival, the bay is polluted, and the old fisherman Noki thinks it's cause someone corked the waterfall. That must be a pretty strong groundhog. This one is another pretty vertical level. We scale the cliffside using water vases and cleaning goo. And once the mole's turret is busted, the cork pops out no problem. But not all of her problems are solved, as the bay is still a deadly purple. Gramps tells us of the old Noki King tomb, and we spray our way through a maze in the ruins. The crypt is guarded by another blooper. And jumping in gives us just what we were looking for. Oh yeah, the issue's still not fixed. By now, I'm sure you're noticing a theme. The old guy has no idea what he's talking about. He even thinks we'll somehow fit in his bottle. Okay, you got me there. Mario is given a scuba helmet that extends our breath meter, but also gives us a boost underwater using Flood. Okay, this is the type of movement I wanted back at the Coral Reef. We'll use this mechanic to get around, but only in 3 specified areas. Anyway, we collect red coins down here, but there's a more interesting treasure to be found. An unopenable door with an unused, submerged notebook. You can make up your own theories for this object and post them below. In the next episode, we scale that cliff again, only to jump straight down the waterfall. This leads us to a giant sunken city with the population of one dirty eel. Dr. Mario goes in for his dentistry degree and cleans the poor guy's teeth. Noki Bay is now a clean cove, so he might as well go for a swim. Did that eel's rotten mouth really alter the state of the entire coast? Gross. I think I'll get out now. Whether the water's clean or dirty, we can rent a mud boat for only 90,000 coins. I have 8. Luckily, the big dancing tanuki cuts us a break and gives us a free ride. But we don't have time for leisure. Il Piantissimo is back for round 2. Is he even trying anymore? Episode 6 points towards the Seashell Tower, and jumping in leads us to traditional level number 9. Okay, we've seen enough of these by now. I'm ready to cast my judgment. These old school levels in itself aren't terrible. You've got Mario jumping through, like Mario does. There's interesting mechanics and set pieces, and you get to put your platforming skills to the test. But there's 2 things that really hold these sub-levels back. First is they break the theme. The summertime tropical island vacation vibes are woven into just about every part of this game. But for the 10 traditional levels, this is inexplicably absent. Usually there's a creative little reason for jumping into these levels, like finding the source of the lake pollution, or figuring out where these spooky ghosts are coming from. But none of that is ever carried over to the levels themselves. They're resolved by you obtaining the shine, and nothing else. Sure, the results are present in the next episode, but there's no connection between any Delfino world and these sub-levels. We're in Railroad Space, or in a Mario Light Bright, or a starry sky above and literal nothingness below. At least there's a couple palm trees to tie it all together. These really don't feel like they're organically implemented into the game. They're out of place, like segments from a scrapped Mario game just thrown into this one. My other gripe with these levels is they strip you of your abilities. The level begins with Shadario appearing out of thin air to steal Flood. So we have to track him down, right? No, he's nowhere to be found. We just have to finish the level hoverless. And later, we'll magically have Flood back, no questions asked. This entry of the series revolves around this gadget and what we can do with it, so any challenge presented should push the limits of this mechanic, not take it away. When playing this game, the hover ability is so ingrained in my muscle memory, it's a sensory shock to take it away. Flood is so integral that it shouldn't even be looked at as a gadget. It is one of Mario's moves. It'd be like if suddenly in 64, your long jump was just missing. And those death voids that are graciously absent in much of the rest of the game? Yeah, what a time to introduce them. These sections reveal to me that Mario's movement isn't as smooth as I thought it was. Flood is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting, which would make this a moot point if they didn't decide to take him away in 10 different instances. I can appreciate that they wanted to switch things up a bit, but I don't think this was the right way to go about it. For the record, none of these first 9 are unforgivable. They all can be accomplished with a bit of practice, and maybe a few frustrating retries. But it's a timely detour that detracts from the rest of the game. With that all out of the way, let's return to Noki Bay for another Shadario chase up the cliff. And then back to Atlantis to chase down the coin fish. It's the red ones we're going after. And just like that, Noki Bay is complete. Our final full level we'll be delving into is none other than the Pianta Village. Upon arrival, it is nighttime in the village, and all of our surrounding objects have a sort of neon effect glowing in green and blue hues. Across the rope bridge, we meet the Pianta Village mayor, and peep out some fiery bow wows behind him. These chain chomplings have the village in a panic, so we help out by hosing them down and slingshotting them into the water. We'll just have to be careful of the lava goop. Returning for episode 2, we'll see it is now daytime in the village. So here's an A to B swap to show how the textures differ. Anyway, our old friend Il Piantissimo is waiting up for us for his third and final race. He actually put some pep in his step for this one. And it's at this point I find out that losing the race is a level kickout and a loss of life. Kinda harsh. Old Koopa was never this much of a sore winner. Though I guess I can't blame dude for not wanting to trek all the way back to the start. With the power of the slip and slide, I take the lead and collect Shine number 2. Shine 3 has that all too familiar Shadario Steel animation. Only this time, it's in an actual episode, not a sub-level. Kinda strange. Though I kind of don't mind this one. We've already had a bit of time to get acquainted with the level, and it adds an interesting challenge so we don't just spray our way through the goop. The entire village is covered in lava, and our goal is to save the mayor. We're led around the side of the level to a chute leading to the Undercity. Don't take the first one, it's only a decoy. Looking over the edge, we'll see that this is the only world level that has a death pit below. But that's understandable, considering it is the last one, so it adds to the challenge. This climbing mechanic, however, can lead to quite a lot of frustration. These gates can be interacted with from the top, from the bottom, or from the side. But each of these requires a different button press. This makes sense if you stop and think about it. A ground pound sends Mario down, so you use it when above the gate. A jump sends Mario up, so you use it when below. And for the side gates, pressing Y button sends Mario out in a horizontal dive, so that accounts for the forward hit. And if you're accustomed to 64's punch, that was mapped to Y in 3D All-Stars. It's the same sort of action. Actually, Mario does regain his punch, exclusively for these upright panels. But don't go thinking you can swat away enemies with it, cause pressing Y when hanging has Mario dive right off. The issue here is you shouldn't have to put that much thought into it when these climbing mechanics only appear a few times in the game, and usually, the stakes aren't raised to the degree that they are in this mission. You press Y to proceed on this panel, then almost immediately after, you reach this gate, and it only feels natural to press Y again. Down you go. To make matters worse, these movable fence pieces will automatically have Mario grab them when hanging, but he won't automatically grab them when going from the panel to the top fence. You have to jump to do that. And if you move at all before the fence falls, well, that's an automatic grab, and Mario falls along with it. This isn't a huge part of the game, and it can be surpassed with a few annoying retries. It's just the inconsistencies really stand out, and show this section wasn't handled with much care or attention. Anyway, we managed to climb up, regain Flood along the way, and proceed to save the mayor, who naturally gives us a shine for the trouble. Episode 4 has one giant fire chomp we gotta drag to the hot spring. Next up, we see a Yoshi egg and are directed to the Undercity. He can't use gates, so we have to go mushroom hopping. Okay. Later, Yosh. This part was pretty annoying at first, as Yoshi's feet flutter would sometimes let me down, though that could have been user error, cause it worked fine on this last one. I don't know. But this has led us to our final old school level, though this one has a much different format. This one features many Piantas, which is a welcome surprise. Until you talk to them. I'm a chuckster. This is one of the worst levels. Not in Mario Sunshine, but in gaming history. We're at the mercy of the chucksters, who are all proud of their chucking abilities, but frankly, you all suck at chucking. I really don't want to spend much time here, so let's move on.
I'm a chuckster.
Next episode has many of the Piantas stuck in hot goo. I hope you're a chuckster. So we gotta save them fast. This level is a blue coin extravaganza, as most people we save reward us with one. This Shadario chase is the easiest one yet. And finally, it's the Fluff Festival at Pianta Village. Everyone's gathered to have a good time. It's a little late to explore the village, but the red coin mission at hand is the perfect opportunity to. There's Piantas on big mushrooms, smaller mushrooms surrounding the village, a small pond and tiny rivers, tall grass and swings, a hot spring, and then various trees that are not actually separate trees, but branching segments from an even larger tree that's holding the whole village up. These are all traversable, and once reaching the top, we see what the Fluff Festival is all about. And it carries us away to this level's final shine. Now, that accounts for all but one of our episode shines. I held off on getting that Ricco Yoshi shine just in case there were other shines that had to be unlocked. Interestingly, there wasn't. I did all episode shines in the order they were given, with only that one exception. Funny thing is, Yoshi isn't the only thing to be unlocked in this game. There's also the rocket nozzle and the turbo nozzle fitted to Flood. But no episode shines require these. Still, there's some fun to be had with these. The turbo nozzle jets you forward in a burst of speed, and the rocket nozzle sends you high in the air above your surroundings. These can be a blast to use. I just wish they were incorporated more. They are not permanent additions to our water gun arsenal. It would be great to be able to switch to these at will, but unfortunately, this game wasn't built around that idea. Though the boxes containing them can be found in various places. I just wish they didn't replace the hover nozzle, cause given the choice, I'll stick to hovering any day. Neither one feels like a significant enough bonus for that trade-off. And it would be nice to drop these at will instead of looking out for that hover crate to get it back. But speaking of switching, your nozzle will always default to the spray instead of the hover, which is pretty irritating in many situations, such as when you're doing a lot of retries. To me, the hover feels like a set move, putting its importance right up there with running and jumping. so my fingers just expect R2 to hover most of the time, and I realized too late that I didn't toggle my nozzle. Well, that's one way to end a sentence. If I were able to move some buttons around, I'd keep hover permanently affixed to R2, have R1 be running squirt, and then map standing squirt to the strafe button. Or, instead of X being the toggle, just have the combination of X and R1 be the standing squirt. And without X being pressed, it just does the free run. Though the button scheme we have works fine enough, it's just not the most ideal in my eyes. Anyway, we have a shine to get. Here, we ground pound the fruit pumps till we get Yoshi's durian, ride him across some platform fish, and get him to the top platform without getting wet, cause everyone knows Yoshis hate the water. With the lost episode done, we now have 57 shines. That's 8 episode shines for 7 levels, plus the tutorial shine on the Airstrip. 70 was our minimum for Mario 64. Funny thing here is we already have more than enough to finish the game. Technically, the minimum shine count for Sunshine is 50, but it's not the count itself that unlocks the final area. It's the 7 Shidario chases that are the key to moving forward. You don't need to do any episode 8 or any hub shines, but where's the fun in that? I'm not playing the game to experience the minimum. So with all the levels mostly complete, there's still 63 shines for us to uncover, and we hardly even touched the hub world, Delfino Plaza. The Delfino Square is a very alive and happening central hub for the island. There's markets, boat rides, beaches, businesses, buildings with bells, bananas, even wanted posters, and cops. Let's get out of here. From this hub, we have access to all of our levels, but more interestingly, we can see some of our levels. There's the Airstrip, Pinna Park, Ricco Harbor, even the walls of Bianco Hills. Though it's not only the hub where this is possible. As far back as level 1, we could see Ricco and Pinna from this overlook just behind us. They're labeled too, so you know the team was proud of this little Easter egg. From Ricco, we can see Pinna and Gelato. Sirena can see Bianco, and an evening look at Pinna, so close we can almost swim to it. Pianta can see Gelato and Pinna pretty clearly, and just about get a glimpse of Noki. But the level where we can see the most is Pinna Park. We can see the Plaza, the harbor, Bianco walls, the treetops of Pianta, Gelato Beach. Even Sirena Beach is seen pretty well, a level only visible from here. And finally, Corona Mountain is seen from every single location. I mean, it is a ginormous volcano after all. And all of this lines up perfectly with the map we are given. These background elements do so well to interconnect all of the levels of this game. Though with that said, I do wish that accessing each of them was done more organically. There are a few areas that do this. This boatman can take us back and forth between Delfino Plaza and the Airstrip. Corona Mountain can be walked to once it's unlocked. And most notably, Pinna Park is entered by being shot there by cannon. All other levels are reached simply through portals. I understand there's some distance, so walking to each one isn't viable, but some creative means of travel could have been implemented just like the cannon. Perhaps a gondola system up to Bianco or Pianta Village. A shuttle boat owned by the hotel. A submarine that emerges in Noki Bay. Or a dolphin ride to lead us to Gelato. Though I'm sure placement would be an issue, and Sunshine does a good job of spreading these level entrances out without making them too much of a hike. Level 1 is right in front of our nose. 2 and 3 are a short walk away, just in opposite directions. 4 is just a bit further, over the river. And 5, 6, and 7 are practically in a line out from our starting point. 1 on the roof, 1 in a sunray, neat little 64 reference, and 1 up high on the gate. This is the only one that requires anything extra, and is accessed by grabbing that rocket nozzle near the statue. These portals are made possible by Bowser Jr.'s magic paintbrush. And just like how each of the levels has an intro hint to show you where to go, the hub area shows you hints for accessing whichever level is next when you return to it. Levels 2 and 3 are both swallowed up by some muck with a piranha plant. 4 gives us the news the princess was kidnapped. Surprise. And shows us a Bowser boat nearby. 5 shows Shadario with a Yoshi egg. And when we commandeer it, he'll eat the pineapple, plugging the level pipe. By the time we reach 6, the colorful light will be beaming down, attracting our attention. And finally, 7 will show us the hover nozzle, then the high-up pipe. It's neat there's these little sub-missions between each of the levels to make the hub world feel more explored, and not just a hallway to the next level. There's also a couple changes in the hub world as the game progresses. When we get out of jail, there will be an apparent dimness covering the island, and the Piantas take notice and comment accordingly. But on the bright side, things start looking up the more shines we collect. It may be clear skies above, but at one point, the entire plaza will become flooded. Our familiar surroundings now submerged in quite a bit of extra water. It's actually really fun to see the town in this new perspective. We can still swim around, and even down to our old stomping grounds. Or we can take to the rooftops where all of the citizens are taking refuge. They are not happy. Understandably so. Naturally, all the businesses will be closed, but one of the boats will still be running. Just at a higher sea level. Any manhole will lead us nowhere. These logs have appeared from somewhere. And this guy is really living it up, taking advantage of the situation. Reaching some challenge areas is even made easier now. But the high waters aren't meant to last. Entering and leaving Corona Mountain will reset the water level back to normal. Good thing too, because we still have quite a few shines to get in and around the plaza. Let's start with the ones hidden around the town. There will be a total of 10 shines obtained within the plaza. The first is a decal hidden in the sand near the lighthouse. I guess it could be found naturally by just spraying around when walking. And it is then put onto these platform pillars. And we can see that upon collecting it, we're again kicked out, even in the hub world. I mean, we're not actually thrown out of the hub world, it's just restarted, but the effect is the same. Shine 2 is found by cleaning a dirty bell, then traversing the sewers to get inside the tower. Shine 3 is a different dirty bell that has to be rocket boosted too. This business here will be a box busting game, where we break them all within 30 seconds for a shine. We do this twice with different setups. Shine 6 will have us on the rooftops with a chuckster. and we use the force of his throw to destroy the broken window grate. Ouch.
I'm a chuckster.
7 will be a golden bird on the small island. We give it a bath, and our shine appears once again on the platform pillars, just slightly further than the last. 8 will utilize our turbo nozzle, sending us through this closed door. Easy enough. And then 9 will utilize the rocket nozzle, sending us on top of the lighthouse and ground pounding from a further rocket height. And our final hidden Delfino shine will be that dirty shine gate we were shown at the beginning of the game. Took us long enough to clean it. But that's not all our hub world offers, cause besides the hidden shines, there's hidden sub-levels, each containing a shine. There's 6 of these, starting with the slide chute, found in a pipe along these pillars once again. This is a very slippery obstacle course, and we'll have some slip-ups all our own. But it's not all that bad. Level 2 will have us turbo past those police piantas to a turbo obstacle course, where our focus will be on timing our jumps. Takes some practice, but again, not terrible. Number 3 will have us using these palm trees as some platforms to this pipe. Pretty creative. It looks so natural for the environment, I'd easily overlook it if I didn't already know it was there. This sublevel will have us on a floating cube with tall grass. A red coin hunt will commence with a few creative ways of finding them. That one was pretty relaxed. Unfortunately, the next 2 are a nosedive downhill. This boat will lead under this building with a coin showing us a secret entrance. That part is cool. The level itself? The infamous pachinko machine. An awful experience. And the other one has a drawn out Yoshi boat ride section, and it's onward to the lily pad level. Despicable. I could do a whole nother video on these, and in fact, I will. They'd just take up too much time here. And that video will act as a supplemental video to this one, much like how the 64 blooper reel video was meant to back up some of the points made in that review. This next video will look at some of Sunshine's duller moments, but let's focus on one thing at a time. Our final Delfino sublevel shine will be on the Airstrip, so we need to collect 10 coins for our fare. Easy enough in the nearby sewer. Are these from making wishes in the nearby fountain? Anyway, when we arrive back at our starting area, we'll see there's a new challenge. Collect 8 red coins while in turbo mode. Not too difficult. And upon returning to the main plaza, I notice our coin count was carried over from the Airstrip. Old Boatman didn't even take his cut. Because we're so close to 100, we may as well head underground to make up the difference. And there goes our shine in the middle of the ocean. So yeah, there's a 100 coin shine in the hub world, but just like in Mario 64, there's a 100 coin shine for each of the levels. I'm not really a fan of 100 coin stars in either game, so I chose not to do them on both of my second playthroughs. Though I did them on my first file, and I don't remember anything substantial sticking out about them. Luckily, there's only 7 in Sunshine, and naturally, one of the 8 episodes will have an advantage over the others. Finding these out organically could probably be a bit stressful, but I'm sure most people would consult a guide first, which is certainly what I did. There may be episodes with a sub 100 count, so be careful for that. But that isn't it for level returns. If we look at our shine screen, we'll see 8 for each stage, plus our 100 coin shine. So 63 from the levels, plus the ones we obtained from the hub and the airstrip. But we're still quite a ways away from our goal of 120. The next 24 shines will be some of the most tedious in the game. We did 100 coins, now get ready for blue coins. I have to give a bit of a disclaimer here. I went into Mario Sunshine prepared for the blue coin hunt. Sure, I played Sunshine a bit as a kid, but the blue coins weren't something that I remembered from back then. It was leading up to 3D All-Stars release that a friend of mine was talking about being excited to play Sunshine again, and it was then that they mentioned the tedious nature of the blue coins, which tipped me off before actually jumping into it. I knew how exhausting these could be before my initial 3D All-Stars playthrough, so I did my best to be ready. But I'll come back to this. So what are blue coins anyway? Across all of the main levels, and the hub level, you would have noticed these blue coins in various locations. These essentially act as sub-shines, smaller little missions that when enough are completed, they add up to one full shine. So 10 blue coins make up a shine. And this is all perpetrated by those two cool Tanukis on that hut on the dock. There's 24 shines obtained from them, so that means there's 240 blue coins in total. That is a lot. Now, although that number is high, these subshine tokens are usually pretty easy to obtain. They can be found in hard-to-reach areas, encouraging your platform skills. They can be found in hidden areas, encouraging your exploration. Some are kinda out in the open. Many are marked with paint and are given out when cleaned, or the X and O markings will require both to be cleaned in a set amount of time. Some will be handed over as a reward, like anytime a Pianta is in some goop. And a lot of these can be found by interacting with the environment, like extinguishing some flames with Flood, spraying down blue birds, or eating non-food items as Yoshi. You must be hungry. We even get some by delivering specific fruits to the Piantas who request them. How about some durian football? For most of these blue coins, obtaining them isn't an issue. The problem comes in how you keep track of them. There is no in-game count for each of these blue coins. The best you get is a total count for each level, maxing out at 30. But if you have, say, 29 blue coins gathered, well, good luck narrowing down the one you're missing. This does not account for specifics. What makes this worse is not all blue coins can be found in every episode, so you have up to 8 level variations to seek through to find your missing coin. This makes sense for areas exclusive to certain episodes, like this M graffiti being inside the hotel casino. But there's no reasonable explanation for this one only becoming available in episode 7. Some of these are completely arbitrary. It's a huge shame these weren't accounted for in some kind of in-game checklist. They already have a pretty thorough list for the shines, and those are easier to keep track of. With this being a known issue surrounding this game, 3D All-Stars would have been the perfect opportunity to add some kind of tracker. But why go all out with improvements in your flagship series? Now, back to what I was saying about being prepared. If you were to know about this little inconvenience prior to starting the game, you could mitigate this issue by keeping track manually, whether that's on paper, jotting down each coin as you find it, or with an online checklist that tells you each of the locations. Doing it this way will save you loads of time and headaches. Unfortunately, somebody starting this game for the very first time will have little reason to expect this, so they'll end up learning the hard way. That being said, if you do keep a list, like I did, the blue coin quest really isn't so bad. Many are fun to collect, and at the very least, reward exploration. And the idea of having sub-shines is fun, as not every one of these actions would warrant a full shine, especially when they're so set on the number 120. Every time you collect a blue coin, you will get prompted on how you would like to save. And we'll see a similar prompt anytime you collect a shine with these retro Zelda-style choices. The funny thing is, the 6th generation with the Gamecube and PS2 was the era of autosaving. Every game would start telling you of this function, disguising it as a warning, but really touting it as a feature. Had Nintendo not caught on by 2002 on their very own console? You will see these dialogue boxes more than 360 times in a complete playthrough, with over 200 of these being from blue coins. Anyway, with all 230 blue coins collected, we can cash them in for shines. Wait, 230? Yes, the final 10 will be found in the final level, Corona Mountain. But there's one last objective I want to take care of first. Secret shines. Revisiting each of our levels one final time will have us on the lookout for 2 secret shines in each world. These will mainly have us enter once again into our old school sublevels, which isn't the most exciting way to implement a secret shine. Though I could understand them wanting to get a bit more mileage out of these platforming challenges, instead of just finishing them once and never visiting again. On the plus side, we get to retain Flood this time around, which is good, cause his absence was my main reason to dread these sublevels. Our goal this time will be to pound this big red switch, then collect all 8 red coins that appear within the time limit given. These do add a bit more challenge to levels we're already familiar with, and the inclusion of our hover ability makes traversing them a bit more fun. But I'd really prefer if this game's secret stars didn't detract once again from our main worlds. But with 14 secret shines and only 10 old school levels, that leaves 4 secret shines to be found elsewhere. Any level that only had one sub-level will have its other secret shine somewhere in the world itself. Gelato and Noki both have very easy secrets to find. One under a sand bud, and the other given by a yellow bird. Ricco gives us a more challenging blooper race, having us clear it in under 40 seconds. And Pianta Village turns our attention to the sun, having us spray down the symbol to get our shine. These 4 world secrets were much more fun for me to find and obtain than the sublevels were, which makes me wish that all 14 of these were connected to the actual worlds. But then again, I guess blue coins sort of have the monopoly on level exploration, so it is what it is. At this point in the game, we should have all but 2 shines. So the only thing left to do is run through the final level. Corona Mountain will be our final destination. This isn't a full-fledged level like the previous 7. It's a simple get-through level, and it's actually really short. Part 1 features these platforms, some with spikes that we have to wait out, and others with fire that we can just hover over to put out. We'll want to stay out of the lava cause, well, it's hot, and there's no escaping it once we're in. We really don't have anything to lose as far as lives go, cause there's 2 in this first section, and you can stack as many as you need before the big boss ahead. The second section can be a bit tricky, but if you nudge the boat slowly, it shouldn't be a problem. And here, we can collect our final set of blue coins. The final section of this level will swap out her hover nozzle for the rocket, which I don't like cause, well, there's no hovering. But we blast off on high using these clouds as platforms. And here it is, the big bad battle with Bowser. He's taking a bath, I guess. The battle itself isn't great in my opinion. There's 5 hands on the star-shaped tub. We have to rocket slam each of them, escape as it crumbles, and avoid Bowser's breath and these bullet bills. And sometimes, he'll splish splash.
The water's great, hey, Junior?
But with that taken care of, we can watch our final scene. Though, I guess I should talk about story first. Mario is notorious for having very little story in his mainline games, but Sunshine actually does try to tell a bit of a story. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's at least a little something to move us forward. The Delfino residents watch helplessly as the light is fading from their happy island. A Mario doppelganger is the culprit, wielding a Gad Science paintbrush. The real Mario is framed and wants to clear his name, but more importantly, he wants to do good by helping those in need. Flood helps out, a gadget also made by Gad Science, and in an unexpected twist, Peach gets herself kidnapped. Shadario is actually Bowser Jr., and his motivation is because Peach is his mother. They have a family reunion in the center of a volcano, where Daddy Bowser is finally revealed. Looks like he just wanted his own vacation. We put a stop to that affair, saving Princess Toadstool in the process, and sadly, have to say goodbye to Flood. You completed your mission, little guy. The Shine Gate is restored at last, and all Delfino residents celebrate. Bowser and his son watch from afar. Bowser admits the truth about Peach, and Junior vows he'll fight Mario again. The Toads regroup with Mario, carrying a restored Flood, who exclaims,
The vacation starts now.
We then watch a slideshow in the credits, where our whole team revisit each location, only this time without any obligations whatsoever. We finally get that vacation we wanted from the very beginning. Anything less than 120 shines will give us this Il Piantissimo postcard. But if we go cash in those Corona Blue coins, and fight Bowser again, we'll be given this postcard with the whole crew and Delfino residents at the casino. Have a relaxing vacation. I like how some of the story is evolved throughout our adventure, and not just bookends to begin and close out the game. And it's nice to see Nintendo actually tried out some voice acting, cause having your characters talk was a staple of that era. I especially enjoyed hearing Bowser Jr.
Papa told me everything. He said, Mario's a bully, he never fights fair.
Bowser,
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about Princess Peach.
and my favorite line in the game,
Now, boys, don't touch that stuff.
by Professor Toad. But all of this has me thinking about the legacy of not just Mario, but other platform games of this time. Sonic Adventure had multiple playstyles and plenty of story and character interaction. And then Adventure 2 gave us a substantial story we could take seriously. Both of those were said and done before Sunshine even released. We've also got platform legends Rayman 2, Jak and Daxter, and Spyro the Dragon predating Fun in the Sun Mario. And Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Pac-Man World 2, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Raccoon Cooper were all out the same year. Dang, 2002 was huge for platformers. I love Mario Sunshine, but pitting it against its peers, and knowing it had the backing of the biggest name in gaming, has it falling a bit short. But let's not focus on its competitors, let's just look into the game itself. I'll often see or hear people knacking on this game, and my gut reaction is usually one of shock, because I do thoroughly enjoy it. But looking deeper into it, there are some sticking points. The linear episodes, though I don't mind them too much, I can totally see many people not liking this, especially as it takes away the ability to play the game the way you want. Don't like old school levels? Too bad, you must play all of them. You want to skip Sandbird on your second playthrough? Well, that sucks. This also makes any non-episode shine kinda useless. Secret shines, blue coin shines, 100 coin shines, and hub world shines do not matter when it comes to finishing the game, as all episode 7s are a key to unlocking Corona Mountain. They can aid other unlocks, like getting an early start on other levels, but the required shine count is gonna come anyway from doing episodes 1 through 7. And speaking of episodes, I again have to wonder if level kickouts are even necessary. Bianco 1 and 2 strangely show us you can have 2 shines at parallel. Is there a reason why they can't all be that way? You're not required to swim in that clean lake at all, so why not just have it stay tainted until you choose to clean it at your own leisure? And why not just have all red coin locations active at all times until you collect them all? Why can't Piantissimo have a permanent standing point, and the race will activate when you choose to speak with him? The situational events I understand unlocking after certain shines, like the PD Boss 2 needing to come after number 1, or Shadario appearing after you've done enough in that world. I just feel like one instance of each world with a limited order in situational unlocks would have the game feeling less restricted. And changing the requirements for Corona to a 70 shine count would make the other tasks matter more. Another common complaint for this game is the controls, which I'm a bit torn on. I genuinely do think the game plays nicely for the most part. I love hovering. Mario's speed is good. Jump height feels good. Side somersaulting is easy. Camera controls are tolerable. And falling isn't a death sentence. But there are a few points that could have used some polish. The direction lock while hovering can be pretty aggravating, especially when jumping off a wall simply to gain some height. Mario takes an eternity to turn around. An even worse direction lock is present on trampolines, which does not feel very intuitive at all. Even normal jumps can have some pretty annoying direction lock. I just want to turn around. Wall jumping to nearby parallel walls feels a lot easier than it did in 64, as Mario doesn't slam into it, or disregard it by not going into a sliding state. But there is a catch. As easy as it is to jump onto the wall, it's also too easy to jump off of it completely. Instead of just sending you out in the very direction the wall is facing, Mario will often jump off in a diagonal fashion, making him miss the opposing wall. Initially, I figured this was done to give you more range when pushing off, but I can't seem to control what direction it's sending me in. Sometimes the momentum can feel very aggressive. You have to be fully committed to your jump before you do it, because there isn't much room for alterations once the button is pressed. This isn't something inherently bad. Different platformers have different physics depending on the developer's choice, which range from more or less realistic. I just prefer a more floaty, malleable jump. Landing falls into the same category. Some platformers have you drop straight down like a sandbag when you release the jump button. Mario will see your jump through and land with a bit of slippiness, so sometimes I find myself overshooting jumps. And as nice as the super jumps are, I often activate them accidentally at unwanted times. Sometimes you just need to turn around and follow that action up with a jump. That doesn't mean I need you to do a high somersault jump. I simply need to switch directions and also do a jump. But like I said, I mostly like how Sunshine feels to control, especially when my Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing device isn't stolen from me. Some negative reception also comes from the game allegedly being unfinished. I don't have too much to weigh in on this regard, simply because I don't know much about the game's development cycle. Some sections do feel needlessly repeated, some sections feel very unpolished, and there's some things that weren't fully realized. There's also rumors of cut levels, an additional hub, and an expanded Corona Mountain, but I can't confirm if any of that is true. Every piece of media goes through various stages of planning and reworking, whether it's a movie, TV show, music album, or of course a video game. So remnants of scrapped ideas being uncovered aren't exactly proof the game wasn't completed. There could just be things in the final product that weren't implemented in the best possible way. So let's not look at what isn't there, and look one last time at the good things that are included in Sunshine. The game feels so alive, with changing worlds and plenty of things going on in each level. There's creative reasons for seeking out these shines, and some of the episodes build off one another. The hub world is expansive, with plenty of residents, explorable locations, minigames, secret shines, and sublevels. The Piantas are super entertaining, always have things to tell us, have feelings and personal perspectives relating to the game's plot, and can often be found just living their lives in a way that feels organic and not just there to serve Mario's mission and aid the player. Nokis are okay too. Flood is fun to control and is used constantly in one way or another, moving us closer to our goal. The toads stick around and can be interacted with as we fulfill our mission. And there was an attempt at a story with voice acting and cutscenes throughout. And finally, the theming is so well done, it deserves yet another mention. Tying the whole game around a tropical island, using water at every turn in creative ways, having related levels that stand out just enough from one another but still feel cohesive, and being able to see the other parts of the island, no matter where you're at, is just brilliant. It's all so inviting, you can't help but dive in and just run around this island paradise. This is the perfect summertime game. Whether you're trying to beat the heat and stay inside for a bit, or it's the dead of winter and you want to take a retreat to warmer days. It really is Mario's all-star vacation, and he deserves to relax. But going on holiday isn't always the experience we expected. Sometimes, you gotta go to the ends of the earth to get your next thrill. Across the universe even. So there'll be more to see in Galaxy.